Hey folks, welcome back to another exciting video. Sure. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to get the tire mounted on the rim finally. This has been an endeavor. It has really been a process. You know, this should be simple, but it's not. And I'll go over that here in a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tire on myself in-house. I'm going to use super sharp metal tools like metal tire spoons, and we're going to haphazardly lever this tire on without any regard for the rim. And if it goes on, it goes on. If it doesn't, we'll beat it on with a sledgehammer, and then we're going to go ahead and put it on the bike, and we'll see if it clears the chain. Now, of course, you didn't believe a word of that, and so what we're really going to do, the owner's watching this, he's having a heart attack about now. What we're really going to do is we're going to use this Z1-R tire changer. And I'm going to go over the history of all this here in a second. I just wanted to give you a quick intro on what we're going to do in this video. So I do have to do one little modification to this that I didn't do before. And again, I'll explain the whole thing here in a bit. So let me get that set up, and I'm going to tack weld some stuff on the base that I forgot to do when I was doing the kind of the mock-up on how it secures, which I'll show you, to the floor. And then we'll get it set up and see what we can do. The tire's over there, and I just got them today. Again, it's a long story, but we'll go over it as we go along. Kind of reminds me of that scene from Sling Blade. All right, folks, so this is a Z1-R tire changer. I'm not 100% sure what model it is. It does have, well, if you come over here, you see it on the arm here to break the beads. I think it says Pro. It seems to have all the bells and whistles for a particular time that it was manufactured, which I don't know. Now, I've had this for about a year now, been tucked in the shed. I took it out last week to work on it because, number one, I was anticipating wanting to use it on this rim, and number two, I had access to it because the VFR was sold. VFR is down the road to a very nice gentleman in Miami. So since that was gone and I had open access to the shed, did some rearranging. I pulled this out. This was all in pieces. This main tube was all rusted. I cleaned all that up, and I cleaned everything else up that I thought I needed to clean up. Then I had to come up with a mounting, to temporarily mount it to the floor because I don't have the floor space to permanently mount it. And so I'm not completely unfamiliar with Z1-R because I use their tools on a kind of I would call it a hybrid Z1-R tire changing machine. I'll put a picture of it in here. That I used to use. It was an automotive tire changing machine, old school one. The guys at the racetracks would use on slicks on regular car rims. I got it from my neighbor down the road, and I cut whatever was off on the top of it, the part that your hub hole would slip down on an automotive rim on the center part, and I welded on a Harbor Freight motorcycle tire changing rig on top of that. And I used that for quite some time. It bolted down the floor in 3 spots because it had kind of a cross T-member on the bottom of this very thick channel with holes in it. So I just line those up, and I make these temporary mounts for them that are screwed into the floor. There's one right there. His Nibs is coming over for a visit. Hey, buddy. There's he's not going to let me do this. There's one there. I removed it from there. Of course, I had to drill out the tap cons because they were, watch your head, buddy. Watch your head, because they were completely seized up, and there's another one over there. And I moved it into 3 spots over here, which you can see that lines up with the 2 front ones on the Z1-R and then one on the back that I drilled. His tail's kind of pointing toward it right now. What do you want? He says, I just want some lovings. Okay. So I've got this lined up for those 3 spots. What you just saw me do, though, was something I forgot, because it hooks, or I should say it bolts on this center one back here in the center, as you can tell because of the way it is. And because this is elevated off the ground, the other one had a U channel, so it sat flat, so it really didn't matter. But with this one, these are contacting the top surface of these things. While on the back one, because there's only one, I realized just like when I was taking it out going, you know, that's going to teeter-totter on this, because it's this crossbar across the back here is going to be sitting on top of here, and it's going to be unsupported on the side. So that's what I just did. I tack welded some washers on that are the same thickness as these. So now when I bolt it down, it's not going to tend to want to wobble back and forth. I figured that's the kind of torque that you don't want on something like this, a Tapcon, so that'll be fine. So let me go ahead and bolt it down, and then we'll set it up and get that rim on here and see what we can do with this tire. I know this is a real pain in the butt to do tires, but I don't do a lot of tires. That's why I have it set up this way. The only reason I had that other rig was to do my own tires. Then I started doing some tires on customer jobs, and then I started doing some for people who'd call up and go, man, you know, it's a Sunday, I'm really stuck. I got one of my used tires, and I blew a tire out. I'm doing a track day or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, all right, bring it over. So I drag out that other tire machine. I'd set it up and get that person squared away. Not charge them very much either. And then, take it from there. But right now, the only reason why I'm doing this again is because of this very, very fancy rim. And I would trust myself installing that tire on this rim more than I would somebody else. You know, you got to do what you got to do when you have a small footprint. So this is what I do, because this is where the sidecar gets parked, obviously. You've seen it here many times before. I got to tighten these guys up too. I haven't done that yet. I'll do that off camera. There's a way to set this up based on tire rim size. And I guess, where are those numbers? I think they're out here. Yeah, I'm not sure if all these are supposed to have numbers or this is something that the previous owner put on. But anyway, you put it on based on the rim size. Now these are two different types of rim holding mechanisms. I forgot what this is called, to be honest with you. It's called like a steady lock or something like this, and these are the cam lock ones. We're going to use these to start off with. And I've watched a bunch of videos on this. Like, it's not terribly hard to use. But like I said, I'm not unfamiliar with the No-Mar stuff. I've had a No-Mar bar here for years. I bought this at the Barber Motorsport event, the vintage motorcycle show, like 2018, I think. Went to the No-Mar tent, if you will, his setup, and I bought this. And I bought the yellow thing, which is somewhere, I don't know where right now. And I had No-Mar Goo too. I actually like I have different setup. Here it is. There's the yellow thing and some bead breaker goo. This is like I think it's a vegetable-based product that they all use. So yeah, I've had this stuff for a while, and I've been using it on the other machine. So again, I'm not unfamiliar with it, but I haven't used the machine itself. So this is going to be the first time. We're going to do that rim. We're going to get that tire mounted on there, hopefully. I'm kind of disappointed how low it is. My machine was much higher, but anyway, we'll figure it out. Either my back's going to hold up or it doesn't. My understanding is the base setting for this arm that does it does a couple things, but we'll go over that here in a minute. This is your bead braking apparatus. We don't need that because we're not breaking a bead because the tire's off the rim. But what we do need is to set this up because we're going to need the other part of it. And again, I think I read somewhere that the base setting is like 5 inches sticking out the bottom. Oh, there it is. It's hitting that stupid thing. It's not good for my back. It really isn't. 4 or 5 inches. That looks like 5 inches to me, said the wife. Just swing that guy out of there that way because we don't need it. I don't know. This is the adjustable one. I don't believe it. Does it go there? I don't remember. But let me go look it up. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put the rim in, and then this guy spins around and locks the rim in. It's a cam, and these two are fixed. So let me go look it up again to make sure, and then we'll go ahead and put that in there. I'm not going to use these posi locks. There's 3 of them. I have another one. I just forgot to put it on here. Take these off, set them aside, because I think we're going to have better luck with those with a bare rim. Okay, so these blocks are, you know, plastic, so they don't scratch the rim. There's a yellow dot. That one does go there. And you can clock these depending on how they fit and how they articulate with your cam. This is the sprocket side. So the direction of rotation is going to be this way. So it's the left side of the wheel. So we'll keep that in mind. I like to do that with it up so it's easier to do. These tires have a red dot instead of a yellow dot. And I'll be honest with you, I can't remember what that means. I think that has something to do with, I honestly can't remember. I'm going to go look that up to make sure I get the orientation right.
So if the red dot is present, align it with the valve stem.
Valve stem, because the yellow dot is exactly opposite of the heaviest part of the tire. So you essentially, the yellow dot being the lightest when they make these tires. So you put the heaviest spot across from where it typically would be heavier on a rim, but I can't remember what that means, so let me go look that up too. Now the way this tire is set up, it does not have a very good clear set of arrows indicating direction of rotation. It's got one thing here that says rear wheel, and it looks like a sharpened fish hook pointing this way. I've scoured this wheel for the last 10 minutes. Sometimes they're up here. Well, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Sometimes they're up here along there, like the PR4s and stuff have it there. There is nothing else on this tire except that to indicate direction of rotation. So I guess we're going to go with that because, of course, it's a pain in the ass. So let me lay this here just for a second. I need to mark on this side where that red dot is. That red dot, according to what I've researched, indicates the highest part of the tire. So in other words, the tire being, if you want to call it out of round, that would be the highest spot. And typically you line it up to the valve stem like you would on the yellow. And according to what I read, rim manufacturers will put the valve stem and drill the hole in the lowest part of the rim, because nothing is perfectly round, as you know, except my face. This is Bead Breaker. That's the brand of the goo that I like to use. If you leave it on there and don't wash it off immediately, it will cause some staining, but it usually wears off. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that I wash the tire off good when I'm done, and then you don't see it. I mean, sometimes you do, but you got to use something. I'm just going to lubricate the drop section. So when this thing drops in, it's got a little lubrication so it won't necessarily grab on that. Since we're not doing a removal, I'm not going to use the spray. See what happens, folks. See if we can wrestle this part on. Well, that one went on good. Maybe that's a good sign. All right, I got the bar in, and you put this crossbar down to lock this in. You put your yellow thing on, and then you're supposed to be able to run this around.
That's bullshit.
All right, folks, I got tire on with the help of my neighbor. I tell you what, this one was really tough. I don't know if it's the rim or the tire or both, but even with this machine, that's why I just shut it off, and I was fixing to put this in the truck, and then tomorrow, Monday, rather take it down to a place and have them put it on, because I just could not get it on. But with him pulling on the bar, and I had to put me doing holding the tire into the drop spot it went in, you know, the drop in the rim. What I did, my mistake was I should not have used those blocks, because those blocks don't give any room. Whenever you have a tire that exceeds out the sides of the rim, for some reason I was thinking these wouldn't because the rim's so wide. Anyway, whenever they extend out, they actually hit the blocks. So this flat part of the block will actually be an obstruction for the tire to seat on the rim all the way. Once I figured that out, and then these are called the posi locks, I believe. And they've got these plastic spools, and they go into the rim, and then you tighten them down. Naturally, the rim's going to spin anyway because of the way it is, so I put a strap between one of the mags and one of the arms here, and I described the way I did it with my neighbor a little while ago, and we were able to get it on. I've inflated it, sprayed it with soapy water. My red dot is right at the valve, which is nice. And I cleaned this off. Now I have to dry it. It's not leaking. No worse for the wear. The rim looks good. So this is probably one of the worst ones I've ever done. I thought the concourse was bad. I put tires on that concourse with just spoons on my old tire machine before I had any of the No-Mar tools, in fact. And I put those things on with just spoons. I thought those were bad. And that's a is that a 190? I think that's a 190, 55, whatever the rim diameter is. I mean, this was a lot harder. So anyway, we got it. Let me dry it off. I'm going to put the tire machine, I'm just going to put it over there for now. And then we'll get to putting the tire on the back of the bike, which will only take me a minute or two. And then we'll figure out whether or not it's going to work with that chain. I got to be honest with you folks, I don't think it's gonna. I think went through all this hassle for nothing. I think he's going to end up having to put a 150 on this. I just got a feeling. I told him that, but you know, he wants this fat tire on it, and fattest you can get. But I could be wrong. But you know, the metric rule doesn't lie. And so, I don't know, I could be wrong. You know, I'm no tire expert, as you can see from this debacle at the beginning of this video. So, all right, let me pick this up off camera, put this crap away, and shove it over there. Shove it, and then we'll put the tire on. Let's give it a shot. I don't know if I showed you this or not. This is the axle, the ZX-10 axle, late 80s. And I turned down the end from M20. There was an M16 end on it, and I turned it down and used an M18 tap. And I think I used like a 2764 collet block in the mill and then did the hole. They're close to the end because there just wasn't a whole lot of thread there, but it definitely works.
Definitely.
So I'm happy with the axle. At least came out really good, and it'll work. Oh, this tire! It's what a pain in the butt. I know there's no chain in here, folks. I don't really care about the chain right now. Oh, by the way, I have, what do you call it, seals in these wheels now. I did put seals in. Oh, you know what? I didn't think of this. Maybe I can sneeze it. Sneeze it through. Yeah. Squeeze it through. And of course you can see the rotors on. I absolutely hate these adjusters on this thing. I think they're the stupidest thing. I don't know what the hell DME or DMC, whatever the hell they are, was thinking using those things. They're absolutely ridiculous. I should have made more clearance on those flats that go into this oval shaped slot on these washers, I guess you want to call them. I'm not going to worry about the torque arm yet. Just put this in and get it snugged up. Good. So that's pushed all the way forward. So it should be in a position where the chain will reach, because I checked them before. Chain's got some slack actually up all the way, but you know, not a whole lot. Let's raise her up, make sure she's free. Oh yeah, perfect. All that work leads to one thing, the moment of truth. And I can tell right now that let me show you. You know, I try to tell people these things, okay? I'm like, you can't put 10 pounds of shit in an 8-pound bag. It just ain't gonna happen. So if you look down there, there's the rear sprocket, there's your edge of the tire. I don't know, maybe. Let's string it across and see what it does. But you can see that's awfully tight in there. Now, this isn't exactly straight, I know that, but, you know, if they're both up all the way, I mean, it's going to be a little crooked because those radiuses I milled on the ends of these are not equal on both sides. If they were exactly the same distance from the center of the hole, then it might be different, but it doesn't have to be. So it'll be close enough, and we'll need the chain in to get it straight anyway to eye it in. So, all right, let's try it. Okay, it's in neutral, so I can pull the chain through once I get it up that far. I don't know. See what happens. If it fits, it's gonna, according to my calculations, it'd be like a 1/2 mil clearance, which probably isn't enough. Yeah, see, I can tell you, I don't know, you can look at that already. Let me get it all the way on, and we'll see if we can kind of adjust it. I mean, like I said, the metric scale does not lie. Doesn't. I honestly think he's going to have to go with a 150 on this. I really do. Yeah, so the two ends of the chain come together no problem. So I'm not worried about that. Let me just stick a master link in there, at least part of it. Keep the chain in some semblance of lined up. It technically is clearing that tire, all right? Sort of. I don't want to go all the way around because I don't have that master link all the way engaged. I don't want to jam that up and bend it or something. So there it is down the bottom now. But you can see this thing is, you know, like I said, I try to tell people that you can't put 10 pounds of shit in an 8-pound bag. Now the wheel is cocked this way a little bit. I can see that from the chain. So let's go ahead and loosen this up and see if we can adjust it so the chain looks straight. Then again, it could be the wheel just pushing the chain. Now that I think about it, it could be that. Everything's a pain. That's just me though. You know, like I said, nobody listens to me anyway. Here's my little chain alignment tool. And you can see that there's plenty of room between that chain and the wheel right now, but you see that it's way off. This is most definitely flush with the sprocket. So we need to bring this side out. I'm sorry, the other side out. We need to bring this side out. And when we do that, it's going to bring everything closer in. So that's what's going to happen with that. And so I think we're going to be in a situation again where maybe we got a 1/2 mil clearance between. I can't go too tight with that chain, so I'm just going to manipulate both sides here until I get it where I want it. We're pretty well lined up now. That chain adjuster deal is pretty straight. I mean, maybe a couple of thou here and there, one side or the other. It's pretty damn straight. Kind of hard to get the angle to show you, but that's pretty good right there. You see how parallel it is when you're looking down, it's straight. That's why I use this tool, because I can eye in and go directly at the chain. Now the chain again is not slacked, so I can't pull it tight because what I said before, I only have you know, the master link in partially. I'm just trying to see what we got here. So now with this lined up the way it is, I thought there was about 2 mil, and maybe there's a mil, if that, which is what I anticipated. What I calculated out was this amount of clearance. See if I can get you in a little closer. That's what we got there, which is virtually none. Now when this thing is tensioned up, I think it'll be better because the chain seems to be pushing in a little bit rather. I think it'll straighten out, but I'm sure there's going to be points in time where the chain is going to slightly rub the tire. I don't think there's any doubt of that with a 160 on it. So I told him there was absolutely no way in hell 180s going on here. I would have preferred a 150, but I said, you want to try a 160? That's fine. Get a 160 and we'll try it. Because he wants the widest amount of tire. Now, I guess we can try it, but it's about all we can do is try it, because I just don't see anything else we can do. All right, so where we're at is, of course, the tire is, this is pretty aligned right now. It's close. Not exact, but it's close. I got to bring the whole thing back. I'm pretty sure it's going to come back about halfway based on calculations. And so it'll be about spreading about halfway across this oval slot in the adjuster. If it loosens up over time and it gets too far to the back, we can always pull a link out rather, and just get another 530, you know, riveted master link and put that in. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to tighten up pretty good. But again, I can't do it right now with the master link only partially installed, just for testing purposes. So this is the other thing I don't like. I was saying this before. It's kind of hard to see with the break-in, but whoops, I don't want to bring that all the way around yet. I keep saying that and I do it. These are pretty flimsy, these brake locks. I don't have them bent over yet. I may have to take those off and redo those because they're twisting with the torque of the nut. I don't know why. I mean, I'm torquing them up to right spec, so they don't call for no washer on them. They are washers. These are the washers, so I don't know. I don't like that either, but you can't really see them because they're behind all that. So right now they're torqued to spec with some never sneeze in there. All I got to do is bend the tabs, but you can see that the brake surface has been done by True Disc up in Michigan, and so that came out really good. And I painted the center. The backside was fine as far as paint goes, and so we're gonna have to do a little touch up here and there. You know, that's what happens when you mock up shit. It gets a little bit dinged. You know, I've already told you we're gonna get new shocks, so let's back up and take a look at the profile of it with the tire on and the rim. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it looks too much different than the original one with the with that tire and rim, to be honest with you. But you know, then again, I'm a purist, so hey, you get what you get. Hey folks, it's future me coming to you from the future. Okay, that is going to clarify a couple things in this video, and then we'll close this abomination out. Maybe put it in the can, or better yet, bury it in the backyard. Anyway, let me explain a couple things to you. All right, the first thing is on these tires. Now, I did a little research and found, I believe is the place that my customer bought these rims from, and is it off eBay. They're reproduction Morris mags, but they're pretty much the same exact thing as the original ones were. WeBike Japan used to sell them as well, but they're discontinued through them. I reached out to WeBike Japan to ask about the rims, because I was concerned that these were supposed to be tube rims. Even though they come with valve stems, the way these tires seated on the beads was atypical to what I'm used to. So what I ended up doing was I verified from both the eBay sales ad and WeBike Japan that they are tubeless. But there are certain circumstances that you want to use tubes in. One of them is racing. The other is because they're sand cast rims as far as the molds go, where they pour these castings. They say that there's possibility of some leakage, so if you have that situation, use a tube. I may use them anyway because I'm just not 100% convinced of the way that these beads are sitting in here on these tires. That's one thing. The other thing as far as tire size goes, as I said earlier, these are 160s. We tried a 160 60 ZR18, and we were going to put a 120 something or other up in the front. They're both 18-inch rims. So I talked to my customer. We're going to go with a 150 65 18 in the rear, and a 110 something or other. I think it's a 110 80 18 up front, because the eBay ad that where I believe he got these from actually specifies those sizes of tires, which I didn't know until I did the research on these rims. He never said anything about that. So once I saw those tire sizes and we discussed it, he said, go ahead and order a set of those size tires. So I have those coming from motosport.com, the Continental Road Attack 3s. So that's where we're going to spoon on these. And like I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and order some tubes and put them in, because like I said, I'm just not 100% convinced that these rims, you know, being that they're exact duplicate from the old Morrises, are indeed tubeless. We may just put tubes in them for safety. But so that's where we're at on the tires. So I hope that helps clarify some information that I was sharing during the video in regards to tire sizes and clearance. The last thing is about the chain clearance. I don't have the chain on right now, but you notice we have clearance in the chain on the top side of it. We also have that clearance problem on the bottom side of it, which I failed to mention. But with a 150, it's going to be 5 mil on a side narrower. I think we're going to have enough room for the tire at least, and not necessarily a chain guard. The chain guard is going to be some custom thing that I do later. You probably won't see that because it's going to be a lengthy process to do something like that. The last thing I want to remind you of is the alignment of the rear wheel as far as the sprocket. Okay, to the front sprocket. I already did that, okay, with the string in a previous video and got those pretty much perfectly straight with each other or parallel with each other. However, for this application, what I ended up doing, and I did not show this on the video, there's a flat washer that comes with the kit, or the washer and a lock tab for the sprockets up on the counter shaft of the engine, the drive sprocket of the engine. And that there's a washer that's 60 thou thick, and it's too big for the threaded side, but it fits perfectly over the spline. So if you put that behind the sprocket, it pushes that sprocket out 60 thou. There's about 96% engagement of the spline to the sprocket instead of 100, so that's close enough, I think. It's, in other words, it's pretty much all engaged. And then I put 60 thou washers behind the sprocket itself. They're still in here right now. You can see that there's a little space now behind the sprocket and the hub, okay? And that still didn't push it out far enough. So with a 150, if we leave these spacers, which I don't think we'll have any problem doing, because the center is still concentric with the sprocket from the hub, okay? I think we'll have plenty of room at that point, because again, that's going to be 5 mil on a side narrower than we have right now, 160 to 150 millimeter being the total outside or major width across the tire. So that's what I ended up trying, and I wanted to clarify this stuff because again, I wasn't able to show it in the video. All right, folks, that's it on this one. I know I look like absolute hell. It's 97 degrees with a heat index of like 876 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm tired. Need to get inside the heat. I've had the fan on. I hope that didn't ruin the audio, but it's just wicked hot right now. But I wasn't trying to teach anybody how to use that No-Mar in this video. I want to make that clear because I obviously suck at using that particular device right now because I have never used a No-Mar. I've used the No-Mar tools. Like I said, I had all the No-Mar tools, the bar, the yellow thing, and then I had some other types of spoons, but not No-Mar for my other rig, that hybrid rig that I showed you before. But haven't actually used the No-Mar rig with the different ways to secure the tire using those, what do they call, like speedy clamps or whatever they are, and then the blocks. I don't know. And I haven't dismounted one yet, so we'll have to try that as well one of these days. The Magna, I got to put new tires on. Front and rear, probably do it then. I'm not going to film that though. I'll tell you how it comes out. We are going to come up with some sort of a chain guard for it. I'm talking to a place called Tiger Racing Products. They're up in Holiday, Florida, and they have these, I don't think they make them, but they have these aluminum 1/8 inch aluminum metal, 1/8 inch thick universal chain guards that should be the right length. I probably have to modify it, and we'll just cut this section out on the inside, the appropriate amount, so it'll be full on the outside, but it'll be relief inside here for where the tire is so close to the chain. In other words, we can't have any guard between the chain and the tire like you're supposed to, but we can't. So, but we got to have a chain guard, otherwise it's going to sling shit everywhere. So we'll, I'm going to come up with something on that. Naturally, it's got to be painted the black, gloss black eventually. I'm not going to worry about that. Oh yeah, you'll notice that I did not balance the tire, and I did that intentionally because it's got to come off anyway. And I want to spray paint some of my weights gold so they won't stand out so much. And I haven't done that yet. I didn't see any point in balancing it up if we're going to have to put like a 150 on, but. So yeah, that's it. As I said, the next job, now that I can roll it around with this tire on it and wheel, once I tighten it all up, even without the chain, I'll take the chain off, we can get that Z1 up, the 900, and start tearing into it and get the wiring harness put on it, get a battery for it, make sure that the smoke doesn't get let out, the smoke stays where it's supposed to be, and eventually we'll start cranking that over and see if we can get it running. But that's going to be a while down the road because we got a lot of work to do on that wiring harness first. So if you want to see any of that stuff, you definitely know what you need to do. You stick around, you like the video, you share, you subscribe, ring the bell, and you get notified when I put more crap like this up. Doesn't cost you a cent, helps me out immensely, and then you can see the you can see the fails and the struggles on future videos as well. Yeah, I'll get used to it, trust me. But it's a little alien to me right now as far as that device goes. We'll have to learn it. So speaking of aliens, I know I look like one. I'm gonna go in the shower and look more human. Thanks for watching, and catch you on the next video.